A 22-year-old girl named Eileen went to a party with her boyfriend and two of their friends. And on their way back, while they were driving in the highway, she fell out of the vehicle, dying instantly. But this is the problem. So many people have their theories. Some people are suspecting that she was killed and then thrown out of the vehicle. Some people say that it was an accident, that she probably leaned on the door and fell off the vehicle. And then there are people who believe that she may have jumped out of the vehicle herself. However, the details of the story so far proves that there is something about her death that is suspicious. And one thing is a fact: she didn't jump. And there is a chance that she was most likely not alive when she fell off the vehicle. But what really happened to Eileen Cheritage? This is everything we know so far as at the time of making this video. Now, Eileen Cheritage was a 22-year-old student in a higher institution at the Rift Valley Institute of Science and Technology in Kenya. Now, a little bit on her backstory, which makes it all the more sad. It was said that when she was done with secondary school, her parents did not have money to send her to the university, so she had to wait 5 years. It was her church that gathered money to put this girl in a higher institution, with the hopes that when she is done from the higher institution, she will get a job and give back to the community that had given to her. Little did they know that all this would end in tears. Just barely 2 years of being in school. Now, all this started on the 13th of July 2024, where it was believed that Eileen had gone to make her hair around 1 p.m. Now, Eileen used to live with a friend, a female friend whose name was not mentioned, but let's call her Grace. So Eileen is living with Grace, and while she was with Grace on that day, she left the house to go make her hair. Now, Eileen has two friends, Brenda and Joseph, who happened to be dating. Now, Eileen also has a boyfriend named Eric, who they said they've been dating for a year plus. Now, on this day, it's almost as if Eileen was going to make her hair to attend this said party. So she was most likely expecting it and preparing for it. Now, Brenda and Joseph, Eileen's friends, who are a couple, came to pick Eileen from her lodge. They were the ones taking Eileen to the said party. And the plan was, after they picked Eileen, they were going to pick Eric, Eileen's boyfriend. But here is the problem. It was said that as at the time of this whole situation, Eileen and Eric were not in good terms. They were having issues in their relationship. And Brenda and Joseph knew about it, and their major aim of getting these two together to the party was to reconcile them. Unfortunately for them, this reconciliation would end in a very big tragedy. So the plan went well for Brenda and Joseph, who successfully picked Eileen and then went to pick Eric, and together, all four of them chartered a bus per se. I don't know whether it's a bus, they call it a vehicle, but it's a vehicle per se that looked like a small shuttle bus. And they went to the party. Everything was well in the party, presumably, because it is believed that they all drank. They all had fun, and it's not clear how the settlement between Eileen and Eric went. We do not know what happened in the club. However, on their way back home from the club, it was said that Eric and Eileen got into an argument. Some sources claim they got into a fight. It's not clear if the fight was physical, but they were arguing. They were already in bad terms. They were already still trying to find a way forward in their relationship. So I don't want to assume it's anything intensive in my mind, but it could have been. So when they were driving back home, somewhere along the line, we don't know what happened. If she was pushed, if she was kicked out, if she fell out, or if she jumped out because she didn't want to argue, but she found her way out of the moving vehicle and landed on the concrete to her death. But this is not where it ended, because after this happened, you would think these people in the vehicle would rush her to the hospital instantly, which they should. And I think this is why I believe she may have died long before she fell out of that vehicle. According to the story and according to police investigation, when she most likely fell out of the vehicle, her friends stopped. However, Joseph, Brenda's boyfriend, went to Eileen's house to meet Grace, Eileen's roommate per se, or Eileen's friend whom she stayed with, and told Grace that, see, something bad has happened to Eileen. Come, please, come with me. This is around 2 a.m. the next morning, on a Sunday, early morning. And Grace was surprised as to what had happened to Eileen. Quickly, Grace joined Joseph in that same vehicle where Eileen had fallen out from. So Joseph drives Grace to the scene where the accident had happened and tells Grace to go and see what had happened to Eileen. But when Grace got there, she saw Brenda crying over Eileen's body. That was when she knew that Eileen had passed. Grace also noticed that Joseph had driven away with his vehicle. Eric was not even there in sight. The vehicle that Joseph brought Grace with was no longer there. He drove away, pretty much. Some sources claim that he drove to hide his vehicle at a corner so that it will not be recognized. But before he did that, he did something very shady, something very suspicious, which is making this story very confusing. To say that Joseph told Grace that Grace should go to the police and tell the police that Eileen was hit by a vehicle. This is Joseph being manipulative, and Grace is not thinking straight. So her mind is not exactly there. So whatever they would tell her is what most likely she would believe. But Grace recalled that Joseph kept telling her what to say. Joseph told her that she had to go to the police and tell the police that she was coming back from somewhere when she noticed a car hit somebody, only for her to come down and realize it was her friend, Eileen. Grace never followed them to the party. She was never in the vehicle with them. She did not know what happened. She was in her house sleeping when Joseph came to pick her, to take her to the scene of the incident. But this was not a bid to be concerned, or this was not a bid to tell somebody what they had done. This was a bid to manipulate the whole situation and manipulate Grace into going to report to the police to give a false confession. Although other sources makes us to believe that Joseph was open with Grace, that he told Grace to tell the police that, and explained to Grace that if she told the police, or if the police found out that Eileen fell off their vehicle, all of them in the vehicle would be in trouble. That it would be a lot easier on them if the story was that Eileen was knocked down by a vehicle and she saw it. So while Grace is standing and seeing Brenda crying over Eileen's body, she understands the situation, it's critical, she is panicking, and she immediately goes to the police. And she actually does tell the police the lie that Joseph had made her to tell. And immediately that same morning, she brings the police to the scene. When the police got there, Grace realizes that nobody else was there. Brenda wasn't there, Joseph wasn't there, neither was Eric. Eric was never there in the first place. And the vehicle was not there. It was just Eileen's body on the road. And this left a bad taste in Grace's mouth, because the people who told her to tell the police a different story were not there. So it was all on her. Now she has gone to implicate herself. Now she has gone to tell the police a lie that she was coming from somewhere where she saw a car hit a young girl. When she came down to look, she saw it was her friend. Bringing the police to the crime scene now, nobody is there. So this pretty much looked like a setup. This pretty much looked like Joseph manipulated the whole situation to pin the burden on the responsibility of the incident on Grace, who knew nothing from the onset. This is why you don't let people manipulate you like this. This is why you have to be sensitive and alert as to when to know when someone is manipulating you. Maybe in Grace's mind, she was doing them a favor. Maybe she knew the original story and still went ahead to tell the police the lie to protect them, because they maybe told her that Eileen jumped out of the vehicle, that she did it herself, that she was fighting with Eric and she couldn't take it any longer, and so she jumped out of the vehicle. Eventually, the police starts the investigation, and soon enough, the vehicle was found. The driver of the vehicle was arrested. It's not clear who the driver was. I'm guessing it was Joseph. I would assume it was Joseph, but it's possible that they had another driver in it. Then it is also believed that there's a chance that Brenda had also been taken into custody. Eric is the only one that still hasn't been seen, or at the time of making this video hasn't been arrested or called in for questioning. But the whole story would change when the news starts to go around and people start to suspect and have their own theory that they believed she was stabbed, that she was killed for rituals. Some sources say she must have been assaulted, sexually. Even Eileen's parents believe that she didn't fall or jump, that they had already killed her and they threw her out of the vehicle to stage it like an accident. Eventually, Grace would change the story when her head is calmer, and she would tell the police that her original statement was what Joseph told her to say. Eileen's body would be taken for an autopsy, and the autopsy would reveal a very important detail that would make this story all the more confusing. Because the narrative that Joseph and Brenda were trying to pass out was that Eileen was fighting with Eric, and she got out of the vehicle. She got fed up and got out of the vehicle and jumped out to hurt herself, to maybe punish them or punish the boy. But when the autopsy was done on Eileen's body, it was discovered that she did not have any bruises in her palms. that her palms did not have any bruises, that she had fractured her skull, and that may have resulted in the direct cause of her death. The pathologist revealed that she wasn't stabbed, that she wasn't sexually assaulted, and it would also reveal that she did not jump out herself. And that was because there was no bruise in her palm. That if there was bruises in her palm, it would suggest that she tried to break her fall, and that caused the injuries in her hands. But the fact that the pathologist did not see bruises in her hand made them believe that she was most likely unconscious when she fell out of the vehicle. That even if she was thrown out of the vehicle or she fell out of the vehicle, she was not conscious. A conscious human being, if thrown, pushed, or if they had to jump out of a moving vehicle themselves, would still instinctively try to break their fall with their hand. One way or another, they would try to not get the worst of the injuries the best they could. And that would be indicated in the palm injury. And that was not something found in Eileen's body, which meant that this girl was thrown out of the vehicle. Or if she fell out of the vehicle herself, then she must have been very intoxicated. It's not clear if they've done a toxicology report, but there's a chance that she also might have been drunk, because Grace also remembered that when she came to the accident scene, the Brenda girl looked confused and also looked very intoxicated. That the girl looked high. It looked like all of them had overdrank, and they had drank at the party, and they don't even know what they were doing. And this drinking is something that I think would play a role the police investigating what really happened to Eileen. Because there's two possibilities here. There's also a chance she fell out, but she was too drunk to break her fall. She was too drunk to know what had happened. There's also a chance she got pushed out. Because when you are really intoxicated and high, many of the times they don't even know what they're doing. Because if Eric really pushed her out of the vehicle, why is Joseph and Brenda trying to cover up for him? Since they were in the vehicle too. And now they've been arrested and Eric is not found, what is stopping them from just throwing Eric under the bus? And I think maybe it's probably because Eric might not have pushed her. A toxicology result would help the police understand if her being intoxicated may have also played a role in it. I can understand that they were trying to hide and cover their tracks because they know regardless of what happened, they will be held accountable. But one thing I don't understand is, why did Joseph, rather than take this girl off the ground and rush her to the hospital, went to meet her friend in the house to bring her to the crime scene? That is something I don't understand. This is the part that makes you look good. I've said this multiple times in a lot of our videos. When you think something terrible has happened, if you did not mean to cause it, if you played no role in it, or your role or your intention was not for it to happen, your next course of action is what can vindicate you. If Joseph, Brenda, and Eric, and if there was a driver there, had taken Eileen immediately to the hospital, it would have made them look better. It would have made the story plausible. It would have made it believable that they were high and drunk and she fell off the vehicle, because we've seen the vehicle, the picture of the vehicle, it looks like a small shuttle. It looks like a bus. It wasn't a car. And I know this buses, I don't know if it's one of those ones you have to roll or open like a normal hand door, but if it's the one you have to roll, those things can actually open wide on the highway and somebody can fall out. It has happened many times. If it's the one where you really have to open the door, it's also possible that she leaned on the door and that opened and she fell off. But if that was the case, then they did not have anything to fear or anything to cover up. All they had to do was take her to the hospital. And even if she passes in the hospital, at least the fact that they tried to save her life proves that they did not mean for her to die. So whatever may have happened to them as a result of that happening, them making the effort to take her to the hospital doesn't prove, would help them evade the chance that they will suspect them of murder. It will help people believe that it was an accident. But for Joseph to leave the crime scene, leave the girl's body on the road there, drive to the girl's house to bring her roommate Grace, to tell the roommate to tell a different story, and then drive away and hide. I don't know. Good luck, Joseph. Good luck convincing people that you did not have a hand in this girl's death. That sketchy behavior of yours will not be ignored. It will make people look at you like you did it, which is honestly looking like you did it. Either that or you're covering. Because why is Eric not even in the picture? Where was Eric all this time? Why is Joseph the one going after it? If you people claim that she was fighting with Eric, so where has Eric been? Did Eric run away? Did he do it? Are you guys covering up for Eric? The cover-up attempt that these people had to do when Eileen fell off the vehicle is what is making it look sketchy, and it's not looking good for them. Honestly, for me, I believe there's a chance if alcohol was involved, then she may have fallen off, she may have been pushed. That is it. That is it. If alcohol is involved, then the story can go anyway. However, if everybody was drunk, I don't think Joseph was drunk enough, because clearly he knew what to do. He knew how to manipulate a situation even while high. So clearly Joseph wasn't high enough. It's just weird and very, honestly, suspicious. I really hope to follow this story. I would like to see what it turned out to be. I would like for this to go to court. I would like for all of them to come out with the story so that we can truly know what really happened to Eileen. Did she jump? Was she pushed? Or had she been killed before being thrown out of the vehicle? But that part of her being killed before being thrown out of the vehicle, the autopsy does, refute it, because they said she died from her head hitting the concrete. So clearly her falling off the vehicle was what killed her. So that one, we know it now through pathology and autopsy. But what we don't know is how she got out of it. If she was pushed, then it's a murder. If she fell off, then it was an accident. However, what other people did after the incident happened kind of proves that it may have been something more than just an accident. If you guys let me know your thoughts, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And turn on notification button so whenever there's an update on this story, you'll be the first to get notified.